Okay, welcome back, class. Today we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about tables, we're going to talk about Sparklines, and we're going to talk about printing options. Up till now, we referred to information that we pull from Excel as coming from a table, but it's really not a table. It's just in a tabular format. But Excel does have a special feature that lets you put information into a table, a true table, and gives you many nice features to work with after you do that. So we'll take a look at how we do that here. So I've got a bunch of information here, different columns: order date, order number, customer last name, first name, customer type. There's three different customer types: gold, platinum, and silver. What the product ordered is, how many units are ordered, the unit price of the product, and the total value of the order. So this not being in a table, I'm going to show you how to put this into a table and show you some of the benefits of working with tables. Now, there's two ways to put your information in a table. All you have to do for either way is be clicked anywhere in the block of information. As long as this information is contiguous, in other words, there's no blank rows here, it will determine that you want to use this whole range of information. So the first way to do it would be come over here on the Insert tab and click on Insert Table, and you see it automatically locates the ranges of all this information. And the My Table Has Headers box is checked, so it will use this first row as a header information. If this is unchecked, then it will just give you generic header like column 1, column 2, column 3, and so forth. And you'd have to change them eventually, so it's better to have your headers put in beforehand. So all you do once you get to this point is click on OK, and presto, your information is converted into a table, and you get a new contextual tab on the ribbon called the Table Tools Design tab, and it puts it into a style for you. And as you can see, you can choose different styles for your tables. There's many different styles to choose from, and they each have a unique look and feel. Let's just go back to the style right here, for example. Okay, now the first thing to notice is that all of the column headings have these little drop downs here, and these are filter and sort buttons that are automatically put in. Let's say you wanted to sort on customer last name. All you have to do is click the drop down here, and you can easily sort this column on A to Z or Z to A. So let's sort it on A to Z. So now it rearranges all the information in the table, sorting it by the last name of the customer, starting at the beginning of the alphabet and going on down to the bottom. Okay, and you can tell it's been sorted if you look at the little funnel on the icon here. You can see it shows it's been sorted. Actually, it's got the little up arrow there. The funnel is to show filtering. Let's take a look at filtering. If you click over here, you can filter by certain information that you want to see only. So if you undo select all and say you just decided to filter on people that had these first names, now you can see everything else is filtered out. Now you can see the funnel there, which shows that it's been filtered. Over here you have the little up arrow that shows that the information has been sorted. So it's been sorted on last name and filtered out to remove all the first names except for these ones here. We can go back in here and we can clear the filter. Takes us back to here. So we have the ability to sort and filter from largest to smallest on every column of information here. You'll see sort by color. This would be used, say for example, if you had this information here and you went to the Home tab and you gave it a different background color, and then this had a different background color, and this had a different background color. So if you clicked on this here, you can sort by color and say you wanted the green stuff first. All the green background information would come first. but we're not so concerned about sorting by color. So we're going to go here and we're going to clear all formats out of there. Okay, so we're back here in our table. Now, let's click anywhere in here to get the Table Tools Design tab up here. We saw that you can change the styles. Now, also notice that you get some other buttons here. The Filter button is what shows these little filters available. You can turn that off by unchecking the Filter button. If you click on First Column, it will bold the first column, and you can bold the last column. Now, this only works if you have certain styles chosen. Banded rows are nice. They make it a little more readable, and you can choose to band the columns also. Right now, we'll turn off the first column and the last column. Okay, now, another nice thing to notice here is that we get something called a total row. If we go to the bottom here and we turn on the total row, it will total up the last column on the table. Now we can go into other columns that have numeric values in there once we have the total row turned on, and you click in there, you get this little drop down. So say we have all the prices here, you wanted to get the max price, you could get that in that row right there, which is $1,000 coming from right there. Okay, if you click over here on the units ordered, say you wanted the average size of the order, you could click on that and get that right in there, 195.82, blah, blah, blah. All right, so you get all these features when you have a total row now. If you don't have numeric value in there, you can't really apply these things, but you still get the option to pick and choose them. But it only really makes sense when you have columns that have numeric values in there. For right now, I'm going to turn off the total row. Now, another thing I wanted to show you is the fact that when you have a table and you have more information than what will fit on the whole screen, you don't have to freeze the columns like you do typically. So if you start to scroll up, watch what happens here. These column headings will go up into this area up here, and it'll essentially freeze the information in that column. See, I scrolled up one time, and all this information stays up here in this column designator area. So there's no need to freeze columns once you're working in tables like this. Now I'll show you how you can reference information from one table to another using the new notation that we've learned. So let's get back into our orders table here, and we're going to pull in some information from the increase table. We want to reference this column right here, 15% increase, which is, if you take a number and multiply it by 1.15, it'll increase it by 15%. So let's go back here. Let's create a new column over here. Call it 15% increase. And we'll build a formula that'll reference from one table to the other. So if we say equal, and we are going to reference, press the left bracket, and we're going to take the unit price and close off the bracket there, and we're going to multiply it by, and now if we put in the name of the other table, which is increase, just put the first couple letters in, double click on it, press the bracket, and this gives you all the columns from the increase table down here. So we're going to do the 15% increase, and we've got to put a right bracket there, and hopefully when we press the enter key, it'll do exactly that. So here's the original number, here's a 10% increase, here's a 15% increase. So what we did, just to review, we referenced this column over here with a left bracket to get the column drop down, and then when we wanted to reference the information from another table, once we gave it a name, we just typed that name in a formula. So we typed in equal INC. Once we saw increase, we double clicked on it, and then we used the left bracket to see all the columns from that table. Don't forget, once you use the left bracket format, you need to close it off with a right bracket. Okay, so that's a very useful thing you can do with tables. A couple other things here. Tables have a nice feature called slicers. Remember I was telling you how you could sort on information here, like if you wanted to sort on customer last name, or let's go over here, let's sort on customer type. So we have three types of customers: platinum customers, silver, and gold. So if you clicked on down here and you decided to sort on A through Z, it would show you all the gold customers, all the platinum customers, and all the silver customers. Now I'm going to show you another way to actually, if we go back in here, customer type, and if we wanted to see just one type of customer, if we unclick that and clicked on gold and say OK, that would show you all the gold customers. You go back in here, you click platinum, it'll show you all the gold and platinum. Okay, the silver ones are left out. If we go back and clear the filter, everything is back to the way it was. But there's something pretty cool in tables. So you go to Table Tools, Design, and there's something called a slicer. So a slicer, when you click on this, it'll give you all the different columns. So let's click on this, and here's all the different columns. We want to have a slicer that represents the customer type. So we click on that and say OK. It inserts the slicer into the table. And now this is another way to filter the information. So say you just wanted to see the gold type customers. You click on gold, and look at that, it just gets rid of platinum and silver. If you click on platinum, it'll show you the platinum only. If you click on silver, it'll show you the silver only. And that is how you use a slicer. If you want to get rid of the slicer, you just click on that to remove whatever filtering it's doing, and then you could just remove customer type. You could use slicer on any column here. If you go back in there and you inserted a slicer on customer, let's insert a slicer on product ordered. Say OK. So here's all the different product types. If you just wanted to see all the chisels that were ordered, only one person ordered chisels. We've got quite a few more hacksaws, hammers, so you can filter very nicely. I'm not sure if we have any products. Well, there's a couple that are on rubber bands. So the slicers are another nice, useful way to filter information. Let's get rid of it here. Right click on it and say remove product ordered. Last thing I'm going to show you with tables is how to get your information out of a table and back to a range should you ever have the need to do that. All you need to do is click somewhere in the table. Make sure we've got our order table here, and go back to the Table Tools Design tab, and right here convert to range. Also take note there's a remove duplicates. If you ever had two records that were duplicates in there, you could use the remove duplicates to easily get rid of a duplicate record. But right now we're talking about converting to range. So if we click on this, it'll ask you if you're sure you want to do that, and you say yes. And this information is not in a table anymore, even though it still has the formatting. What you've got to do is highlight it all to get rid of the formatting. Click on normal, and your information is back to just regular type information. In Excel, if you wanted to get it back into a table, you'd have to go back and make it a table. Remember, the first way we showed you was to insert table. So if you click on that, it finds the range of the tables. It creates a table with a generic type of style to it. The other way to create a table is to go to the Home tab, and right up here, Format as Table. If you click on that, this lets you pick your style out before you even create the table. So we were using this one right here. Let's try a different style. Let's try this one right here. So as soon as you click on this, it's going to bring up the Format as Table dialog, which shows the range of all the information. And you would say OK, and bingo, it converts it to that particular table style. Then you can go back in and you could change it. Now I want to show you one last thing here. Let's convert this back to a range and say yes. Okay, then we have to go back in, highlight everything to get rid of the styling. Click on normal. Let's say that we had an extra space right here on our original information. Now, because we have a space here, you cannot use the insert table reliably because you've got an extra space here. So what you've got to do is you've got to highlight all the information, including that extra row right there, before you do an insert. So now if you do an insert, it'll include that blank row right there. But if you didn't do it this way, you probably will not get all the information included. The only way you can do it without highlighting the whole table is if you have information that is completely contiguous in rows and columns, and then all you've got to do is insert table, and it'll pick up the range of the rows and columns, just like that. Okay, so there's a little bit about tables. Tables are not commonly used because people don't know about them more than anything else. Once you know about tables and learn about all their benefits, I'm sure you'll find them very valuable tool to use in Excel, and I hope you will explore using tables with your future Excel endeavors. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Sparklines in Excel. What are Sparklines? Well, Sparklines are very cool and very easy to use. A sparkline is a small chart that is inserted into a cell. They are used to spot time-based trends or variations quickly in your data. Although they look like a chart, they are completely separate and distinct from charts. There are three different types of sparklines available. Number one, a line sparkline, which is similar to a line chart showing a changing value or values over time. A column sparkline, which is similar to a column chart showing comparative sizes of values over time, changing values. And a win-loss sparkline, which shows data points as a high block, which is a win, which is something that's greater than 0, or a low block, which is a loss, which is something that is less than 0. So now I'll give you some examples of these. If you look up here in this section up here, we can see we're analyzing mutual funds, 5 different mutual funds, analyzing their performance over the first 6 months of the year with changing prices of the mutual funds. So if we use a line sparkline, you can easily see how these funds are trending over the period of a year. This one's going nothing but down. This one's kind of going down, but not as fast. It goes up the second month and then it goes down. This one here is a little more uneven performance. This one here trending upward, and this one here is trending downward. Okay, now a column sparkline shows the same information, but it shows it in a column format. So the larger, taller the column, the higher the number that it represents over here. So you can see trends also in this type of a sparkline. You can see that this one is basically trending up, while the rest of them are basically trending down, just at different paces or different frequencies. Okay, and then the third type is the win-loss sparkline. And down here, each column that we see in this area, the values are derived by looking in the column in the area above here. So say, for example, this minus 10.8, this is derived by taking the March value from up here and subtracting from it the previous value. So 88.12 minus 98.92 gives you a minus 10.8. All of these values down here come from subtracting the previous month from the next month. And the values that show as negative, like all of these here, are shown in red in this case. And the values that are positive are shown in green. The only positive one is this one right here, 5.96, which comes from subtracting 212.74 from 218.7. If you notice, these are all not applicable because there's nothing to subtract from the January value. So this shows you wins and minuses above or below 0. That's what a win-loss sparkline does. Now, let's take a look and see how we can create some of these. We'll work on the first two. Here's the same information over here that we have over here, and I'll show you how to create the sparkline. So what you have to do is click in the cell where you want to put the sparkline. Go up to the Insert tab. So we want to put a line, sparkline in here. So we'll click on that. The first thing it asks you for is what is the range of the data that you want to analyze. So all we need to do is click in the cells and drag across. Here's the 5 or 6 different months. And down here, the location range, well, we already specified that right here when we clicked in this cell to begin with. So all we need to do is click on OK, and there's our sparkline. We can use the autofill handle to drag down and create the same sparklines we see over here. Now, once we get in to a sparkline, you get a new tab up on the ribbon bar, a context-sensitive tab. It goes away if you're out of the sparkline. If you're back in the sparkline, it comes back. It's called Sparkline Tools Design. So in here, you can customize your sparkline. So for example, you have all different styles that you can choose for your sparklines. Different colors, different backgrounds. Now, if you don't like the styles, you can just pretty much ignore them, and you can do some other things here too. So if you look in the show section here, this is where these markers come from for each month. So if you click on markers, it shows you the markers for each month. Now you can customize these markers right in here in the marker color. So if you don't like the marker color, which is this one right here, you can choose a different one, say something like that right there. You can also customize the line color. You can choose a red line if you want. See how it changes that. Let's go back to a black line. I think it looks a little better. And you can also choose to show the high points, the low points, negative points, first point, and last point. So if we choose the first point and the last point, we need to go in here and check our marker colors. So the first point, you can make it light green, and the last point you can make it something like that. They don't really show up here that much. If you can change the sparkline color to something else. Anyway, you can fully customize your sparklines by playing with these different values here. Okay, now let's go in and create a column sparkline. So we'll click in here. We're going to go to the Insert tab. We're going to click on column. We're going to drag across the numbers the same way and specify the data range. The location range is already set, so we'll just say OK, and then we'll use the autofill handle to drop down, and there's our column sparklines. We can come back in here and we can change the marker colors if we want. We can choose high point, make it green, so you can see the green showing up as a high point. Go back in here and look for the low point, make it red, so we can see all the low points are showing up as red in here. Or we can go in and choose to do different styles like this, which changes some of the things that we did over here. Okay, so that's basically how you create sparklines. Now there's another example on Sparklines 2, which shows you how we created these other column sparklines. This shows you nice trends in your data. So here we have some weather, rain patterns for different cities in the country. And if you put a column sparkline here, you can easily see that places like Eugene, Oregon, for example, don't get much rain in the middle months. Same thing in Honolulu. Don't get much rain in the middle months. Most of the rain comes in the first part of the year or the end part of the year, compared to someone like Daytona Beach, Florida, where they get most of the rain in the middle months of the year here. So the way to create this, come down here, go to Insert, go to Column Sparkline, select your data range, which is right across here, click on OK, and drag down just like that. And then you can come back in here and customize your information any way you want. You got a bunch of tools here. Low points you can show, and you can show the high points. And then of course you can go in and change the markers depending on which ones you want to reprogram. So that's pretty much all there is for Sparklines. They're really easy to use, and they really help you see trending data in a nutshell. So practice with your Sparklines, and I think you'll find them pretty easy to use. Okay, let's talk briefly about some printing options in Excel. All the action that we're concerned about is on the page layout tab. Specifically, we're going to talk about three things here: selecting the print area, page breaks for printing, and printing titles. Okay, let's take a look at this information. We just created some dummy data here. This is about 300 rows of information I created. 2 columns with some header information. Sales by person ID number is what we're talking about here. This column deals with the ID number. This column has the sales information. If we just do a Control P to print, we'll get a print preview. You can see it prints the header information on the first sheet, but if you scroll down, that information goes away and it'll just print all the information until it covers everything. Let's go back and talk about selectively deciding which area we want to print for starters. Say we just want to print a select number of lines here. Let's say lines are rows 8 through 25 right there. So you have to highlight those rows or that range. Go into print area and click on set print area. So once you do that, if you do a Control P, you will see that that is all that's going to print that area that you chose as a print area. Okay, let's go back in. You need to clear that off before you can move on, so you need to go back into the print area, drop down and clear the print area. Now, if we do a Control P again, we're back to normal printing. So if we scroll down with the mouse wheel to the next page, you see that this header information here goes away. It would be nice to keep this information, to retain it, so it prints on every page. And here's how we do that. Now we're going to focus on print titles. If you click on that, we're looking at the Sheet tab on the Page Setup window, or you can also get to it from clicking on the Dialog Launcher button and the Sheet tab there. And what we're going to focus on is rows to repeat at the top. So we want the first 2 rows, 1 and 2, to repeat at the top. So if you click in here and you click on this arrow here, it'll let you select the 2 rows that you want to repeat. And then you can just click on the X. So we're showing rows 1 and row 2 here. Click on the X to close it down and say OK. Now if you do a Control P to print, here's the first screen. And if you scroll down to the next section, you'll see each one retains that information across all the pages that you're printing. So that's a real nice feature to know how to use. Okay, let's go back in here. Lastly, let's talk about page breaks. So a page break is when you tell Excel where to stop printing a page and move on to the next page. You do that right in here. So what you've got to do is you've got to choose where you want to insert a page break. So say we wanted to insert a page break, first page break right after row 12. So if we click on row 12 here and we go into the breaks drop down and we say insert a page break. Now if we try to do a print by doing a Control P, you'll see that it prints the first 12 rows and then it inserts a page break. From here it gets back to regular breaks that will fill the whole page. Now if you go back into the sheet here, you can get a better view of your page breaks and have better control over them by changing your view up here on the View tab from Normal View to Page Break Preview. So if you click on Page Break Preview, now you can see where the page breaks are going to be automatically, these dotted lines here. And here's the one that we put in before with the Insert Page Break. So if you click on this line here and you get a double arrow up and down, you can actually move your page break to a different location here. Say you wanted to break after row 8 instead of row 12. You can easily move it, or you can move it down. Now you can also right click, and you can insert a page break at that point there, and insert as many page breaks that you want by right clicking, and then of course you can drag these anywhere that you want to be. If you go back to normal view and come to the top and you do a Control P with a print preview, now you can see all of our page breaks in action here. If you want to reset the page breaks, you've got to go back in to the page layout tab, click on breaks, reset all page breaks, and now if you go back to the view tab and look at page break preview, you'll just see the built-in page breaks which get inserted at the end of every page. And then of course you can move these two by clicking on them and dragging them just like that. So you have a lot of control over where the information will stop printing on each page. Typically you would go back to normal view. You can see these dotted lines here represent where the vertical page breaks are too, but we're only concerned about a little slice of information, so it doesn't really matter. All the page breaks that we're concerned about would be the horizontal ones and not the vertical ones. If you want to get back to the default page breaks, just go back here and reset all page breaks, and it should just revert back to normal page breaks that Excel determines when the page is full. But you can do an override by inserting page breaks here, or from page break preview you can right click and insert page breaks wherever you want, also from in here. So if you click here and you say insert page break, it'll go right there, and then of course you can drag it and adjust it any way you like. Okay, so that's a little bit about printing. On the page layout tab we talked about selecting the page breaks and how to reset them, selecting a print area, clearing the print area, and then printing titles that will repeat at the top of each page. I'm going to clear that out of here right now. And that's some important Excel printing options.